My older brother relocated his family into our parents' house without their permission, so we had to take legal action to remove them after he attempted to push us out. I'm 32, a guy who's always done his best to support our parents. We're not a flawless family, but we're tight-knit. My parents are the reserved, diligent type. They've called the same modest house home for 4 decades. It's nothing extravagant, just a simple place they worked tirelessly to own outright. It's where my brother and I were raised. Then there's my brother Jay. He's 34 and, to be frank, has always been kind of a jerk. I didn't see it as clearly when we were kids, but it became obvious once we grew up. Jay carries this constant grudge, like life's been unfair to him. Nothing is ever his fault. Failed jobs, broken relationships, you name it, someone else is to blame. He married S about 8 years ago, and she's even more insufferable. Entitlement practically defines her. They have 2 kids whom I adore, but Jay and S's behavior makes it tough to be around them. About a year ago, Jay got fired from his job. No shock there. He's been drifting between jobs for years, always thinking he's above the work he's given. He'd quit with excuses. The boss didn't value him. His coworkers were incompetent, the usual. Then, out of nowhere, Jay, S, and their kids showed up at our parents' house with their belongings, acting like it was a done deal. No phone call, no discussion, nothing. I found out when I stopped by a few days later. The house was a mess, boxes strewn everywhere, toys littering the floor. My parents looked drained. Jay and S. They'd claimed the master bedroom, relegating my parents to the tiny guest room. "What's going on?" I asked my mom. She just gave a weak shrug, saying Jay and S needed a place for a bit. My parents, conflict-averse and old school, didn't know how to push back, so they let them stay. For a bit, stretched into weeks, then months, Jay and S settled in like they owned the place, taking over every corner. S started acting like the house belonged to her, griping about how cluttered it was or how my parents didn't keep it tidy enough. She even had the audacity to suggest tossing my dad's favorite armchair because it crowded the living room. I could tell my dad was furious, but he stayed silent. That's what infuriated me most, their refusal to stand up for themselves. I tried talking to my parents, urging them to set boundaries. But my mom just said, "They're struggling. It's temporary." Temporary? It sure didn't seem like it. Things escalated. One weekend, while I was over for lunch, S pulled me aside and told me I shouldn't visit so often. "We need space," she said, her tone dripping with fake politeness. "This is kind of our home now, and it's tough with the kids." I laughed, thinking she was kidding. "Your home?" I asked. She didn't flinch. "Yeah, we live here now." I looked at Jay, expecting him to correct her, but he just nodded. "Yeah, man, we need privacy. We've got our own family." I was floored. "This isn't your house," I shot back. "It's Mom and Dad's. You don't get to tell me not to come over." S folded her arms. "We've got a lot going on, and it's hard with people showing up whenever. You need to respect our space." I looked to my parents, hoping they'd step in, but my mom stayed silent, and my dad just stared at his food. I was livid. I tried reasoning with Jay later. I told him he was crossing a line, that he couldn't just take over our parents' home and exclude everyone. He brushed it off. "We're family, man. Mom and Dad said we could stay, so what's the issue? You're making it bigger than it is." "You're hurting them," I snapped. "You're treating them like they're intruders in their own home." He just shrugged. "They're fine with it. You're overreacting." I wanted to shake some sense into him, but I knew it wouldn't help. Things got worse. One day I noticed my mom's cherished items, her dishes, her photo albums, things that had always been part of the house, were missing. I found them later, stuffed in boxes in the attic. "Why's Mom's stuff packed away?" I asked S. She barely glanced up from her phone. "It was just clutter. We needed space for the kids." Clutter? I was stunned. "That's Mom's stuff," I said. "You can't just decide to pack it up." She shrugged. "Someone had to. The kids need room to play." I was seething, but kept my cool. This isn't your house. You don't get to decide what stays or goes. She ignored me and went back to her phone. Then I learned they were draining my parents' finances. Jay wasn't contributing a dime. My parents were covering everything: groceries, bills, even gas for Jay's car. They were stretching my parents thin, and Jay acted like it was no big deal. I asked my mom about it, and she brushed it off. We're family. They need help. I confronted Jay. You need to start paying your share. Mom and Dad can't keep footing the bill. He looked at me like I was crazy. They've got money, don't they? They're fine. I was losing it. They're not fine, Jay. You're bleeding them dry. He shrugged again. We're just trying to get back on our feet. It's not a big deal. I wanted to strangle him. He genuinely thought our parents' savings were his to use. Then came the worst part. S decided it was time to upgrade the house. She and Jay started talking about needing a bigger place, something better for the kids. At first, it was just talk about repainting or moving furniture. But then S went too far. One day, my mom called me, nearly in tears. S had secretly contacted a real estate agent. She and Jay were planning to sell our parents' house and buy a bigger one, in their name, not my parents'. They expected my parents to give up the home they'd worked their whole lives for so Jay and S could start fresh in a house they'd own. I drove over immediately, stormed in, and confronted them. They were sitting at the kitchen table, acting like nothing was wrong. What the hell is this about selling the house? I demanded. S raised an eyebrow, unfazed. We were just talking to an agent. This place is too small for all of us. I looked at Jay, hoping he'd show some shame. Nope. He nodded. It'd be better for everyone. More space, and Mom and Dad can live with us in the new house. I was speechless. Are you out of your minds? This isn't your house to sell? S rolled her eyes. We're doing what's best for the family. The kids need a better place. Your parents don't need all this space. I turned to my dad, who was staring at the floor. You're okay with them selling your home? I asked. His voice was quiet but firm. I don't want to move. This is our home. That's when I knew I had to act. I told my parents they needed to evict Jay and S immediately. My mom was horrified at the idea, but my dad nodded. We can't keep going like this. That night I called a lawyer. I wasn't playing around anymore. If Jay and S thought they could bully my parents, they were wrong. My parents were reluctant at first. They hated conflict. But I convinced them this was about protecting what was theirs. The next few days were tense. We served Jay and S with eviction papers, and they didn't take it well. Jay stormed into the kitchen, waving the papers in my face. You're really doing this? He shouted. Dead serious, I said. You've treated this place like it's yours and disrespected Mom and Dad. It's over. S came in, holding their youngest, looking furious. You're throwing us out? We're family. You've taken advantage of family, I shot back. You're lucky we didn't do this sooner. Jay slammed the papers down. You'll regret this. We'll fight it. I crossed my arms. You've got 30 days. They didn't go quietly. The next few weeks were hell. Jay and S tried everything to delay the eviction, guilt-tripping my parents at every turn. S started spreading lies to the extended family, claiming I was manipulating my parents into turning against Jay. She told people I was only doing it to get the house for myself. It was absurd. My aunt called me furious, saying, How could you? Jay has kids. I had to explain the truth, how Jay and S had taken over, drained my parents' money, and planned to sell their home. Once I laid it out, most family members saw through the nonsense, but it showed how low Jay and S were willing to go. Then they leaned harder into the "we've got kids" excuse. One night, S confronted my mom, tears in her eyes, holding the kids like props. How can you do this to your grandkids? They'll be homeless. My mom was shaken but held firm. We've done all we can. You have 30 days to find a place. S was stunned that my mom didn't cave. You're heartless, she snapped before storming off. As the deadline approached, Jay's tactics got nastier. He changed the locks on the master bedroom and basement, claiming it was for privacy. My parents had to knock to use their own bathroom. I confronted him after work. "You locked them out of their own room?" He shrugged. "We need our space." "They need their space," I snapped. "This is their house." He smirked. "Not for long." I realized they had no intention of leaving willingly, so I escalated things. I contacted the lawyer again and filed for a court order to forcibly remove them if they didn't leave by the deadline. I didn't tell Jay or S yet. They'd find out soon enough. In the final week, Jay tried one last desperate move. I came over one night and found him with forged documents. A fake lease with my parents' signatures, claiming they'd rented him the house. He thought it would let him stay legally. "You forged a lease?" I yelled. "Are you insane?" He didn't even deny it. "You're not winning this," he said. "I'll stay as long as I need to." I tossed the papers in the trash. "This isn't a game, Jay. You're done." Eviction day arrived. I showed up with the sheriff and the court order. Jay and S were there, barely packed, clearly expecting us to back down. "We're really doing this?" Jay asked, still acting like he was in charge. "Yep," I said. "Get your stuff and go." S started crying, putting on a show. "I can't believe you're doing this to us." But my parents stood firm. My dad stood by the door, arms crossed, and my mom stayed quiet but resolute. The sheriff gave them an hour to pack. They left, screaming and cursing the whole way. S shouted that we'd regret it, that we were tearing the family apart. Jay just glared at me like I'd ruined his life. Once they were gone, the house felt peaceful again. My parents were worn out but relieved. They could finally live in their home without feeling like intruders. It wasn't a joyful resolution. Jay and S cut off contact except for occasional snarky texts about how tough their life is without a support system. They're renting a small apartment a few towns away. I haven't seen my nieces and nephews in months, which hurts. But I don't regret it. Sometimes family takes advantage, and you have to draw a line no matter how tough it is. If you're dealing with entitled relatives trying to take over, remember, you don't owe them anything, especially when they play the victim. Subscribe if you want more stories about wild family drama. I've got plenty. Thank you for watching Story. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell for more real-life stories.